Hi, welcome to Capital Races Club. Everybody who's watching this from LinkedIn Live, feel free to anytime put in where you're watching this from, any questions and insights you would like to share. If you're watching this from YouTube Live, definitely feel free to do the same. And all on Twitter, welcome. So today on Capital Races Club, we are here with Bob Burg. I'm super stoked to introduce Bob Burg for you, everybody. So for over 30 years, Bob Burg has successfully been showing entrepreneurs, leaders, and sales professionals how to communicate their value and accelerate their referral businesses. Although for years he was best known for his sales classic, The Endless Referrals, it's his business parable, The GoGiver, co-authored with John David Mann, that has created a worldwide movement. While part of a 4-book series, The GoGiver itself has sold more than 1 million copies and been translated into 30 languages. Without further ado, Bob Burg. Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Samson. How are you?
I'm super stoked. We have
Oh,
a lot of
thank you.
people in
Me
the
too.
comments already sharing hi and very
Oh,
excited
good.
to have this interview. So
Well,
we have Ryan sharing Bob. Such a great guy, excited for this. I've
oh,
noticed
thank
a lot of people but that's a question for later. Before we move forward, I would like to ask you a question about how the start of the Go Giver became to be. How did you and John David Mann decide that, hey, this is what we're going to write about?
Yeah, so years earlier, I had written Endless Referrals, which was a how-to book on, for entrepreneurs and salespeople who knew they had a great product or service. They knew it added wonderful value to the people they served, but they didn't necessarily feel comfortable or confident going out into their local communities and creating the relationships that would result in people wanting to do business with them directly and or refer them to others. So Endless Referrals was really, it was a how-to system for doing that. I define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. So in other words, the key is predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A you'll get the desired result of B, then you know all you need to do is A and continue to do A, and you'll get the desired result of B. So that's what it was. It was a system. But I'd always enjoyed reading business parables. I think parables, they're stories, so they connect on a deeper heart-to-heart level with readers, and that's how I always felt whenever I read business parables. I felt a connection with the author, with the characters, and certainly with the lessons in the story. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we could take the basic premise of the Go-Giver, which is, or of Endless Referrals, which was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and put that in the form of a parable. So in coming up with the actual title, it was pretty easy because it was a matter of asking the question, what is the main characteristic or essence of those entrepreneurs who could quickly and sustainably create and develop those know, like, and trust relationships? And it's that they're givers. They're always looking for ways to give value to others. The Go Giver, pretty natural as a title, but really the key was asking John David Mann to be the lead writer and co-author. He's a wonderful storyteller and just a brilliant writer. And at the time, he was the editor-in-chief of a magazine I used to write a monthly column for. And not only was he a great editor, but his reputation within his niche at that was, he was the best. And so I asked him. He was the only one I wanted to have co-author this. And again, he was the lead writer, lead storyteller. And fortunately, he said yes to the idea of doing it. And after, I think it was 24 New York publishing houses turned us down in a year. The 25th said yes, and that was Portfolio, an imprint of Penguin Random House, and they turned out to be the perfect publishing partner. So, that's really how it began.
That's incredible. Also, the journey of going through 24 publishers saying no and keeping on.
Yeah.
Did you use the principles in the book described to create those relationships so that you
Sure.
could
Well, I
continue
mean,
to find?
yeah, I mean, I had built my businesses using those basic principles. John had built his using those basic principles. Yet when we wrote this, it was really we kind of put our heads together and said, so what are because we've both studied success, and as a speaker, I've been very lucky to share the platform and speak for, as clients, some of the most successful people in the world. And John, as a writer, has gotten to write about them and visit with them. So we've been able to, and I'm a voracious reader, as is John. So studying success principles is a favorite pastime of both of us. So, so when we got together and we're putting the laws together, and we always say we didn't make up any of those laws. There's nothing new in that book, right? I mean, universal laws are universal laws. Successful people have always tapped into them. Some unconsciously, they didn't even know they were doing it, and others knew, and that's what they did. But we maybe put the laws down on paper, right, and gave them some different names and descriptions. But I think anyone who is sustainably successful, that is how they build their business.
That's incredible. When you started with your first book, how did that come to be? How did you decide that was the one that you were going to write? I'm going to touch a little bit on the other ones soon, but
so I
you
had
started
actually
writing already. Oh, sorry. Go ahead,
Yeah.
please.
I mean, I had no intention of writing endless referrals. What happened, I'd been speaking for a few years. I had a cassette tape, because this is how long ago it was. Cassette tapes, we used to call them cassette tape albums, right? And so, and I used to sell them, from stage, and people would come to the back of the room and get them. And, between that and speaking fees, which, back then when I first started weren't very high, but the tape sales themselves, I was able to create a fairly lucrative business. So I really didn't feel the need to write a book. However, I was at a National Speakers Association conference. This is probably my maybe fourth year in the business or something. And a couple of the older and wiser members said, Burg, you really should write that book because it's going to help position you better and more sustainably in the marketplace. It's going to make you more desirable. You're going to get paid higher fees. It's going to give you all this credibility that you just don't have through cassette tapes and so forth. And, I like to consider myself a good student. And so I took their advice, and that's how Endless Referrals came to be. So, and at first, or not just at first, but once I had Endless Referrals out, it really took my marketing to a whole new vantage point, because I could now utilize the book as an outgoing marketing and positioning tool when I was doing my prospecting.
That's a perfect reason to write a book too. We have had many in networking meetings that we have had in Capital Races Club that come to us and share that your book has been the game changer when building relationships because of the principles shared. So would you like to briefly cover each principle, each law, and then maybe we have some questions from the audience, in more in-depth questions, maybe.
Sure. Well, the principles from the laws from the GoGiver are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity. The law of value says that your true worth, in the business sense, of course, your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment, which sounds counterintuitive when you first hear it. It sounds like that's a recipe for bankruptcy, right? Give more value than I take in payment. So we just have to understand the difference between price and value. That price is a dollar figure, it's a dollar amount, it's finite, it is what it is. Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, um, what is it about this thing, right? This product or service or concept or idea that brings so much worth or value to another person that they will willingly exchange their money for it and be glad they did. If you take a restaurant like Iafrate's Italian Cafe in the story, well, that was a fairly high priced restaurant. And so if you ate there, you're probably going to pay a good amount of money. But, in exchange for that, well, what did you receive in value? Well, from the moment you walked in and you were greeted in a way that made you feel special and made your guests feel special and made you feel good about yourself, to the way you were seated, the ambience of the restaurant, the way the wait staff took care of you and knew when to come over and knew when to leave you alone to talk, and the food was delicious and it was presented wonderfully, and the just the way you were treated the entire time you were there, to the time you were escorted when you left. You paid whatever it was in money, but you came away feeling like you received much, much more in value than what you paid. Meanwhile, of course, the restaurant owner, Ernesto Iafrate in this case, certainly the food that he sold cost much less than what he sold it for. Keeping the restaurant, the electricity and the machinery and the staff and everything cost a lot less than what he paid. So he also made a very healthy profit. In fact, in any market-based exchange, there should always be at least two profits: the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards than they were beforehand. That's basically the law of value. The law of compensation says your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So where law number one says to give more in value than you take in payment, law number two tells us that the more people whose lives you touch with the exceptional value you provide, the more money with which you'll be rewarded. Obviously, it's not enough for the restaurant to serve one person, right? No matter how excellently they do it, they need to have lots and lots of people who they're serving. We could say that exceptional value plus significant reach equals very high compensation. Law number three is the law of influence. And this says your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. Now, we don't mean you should be anyone's doormat or a martyr or self-sacrificial. Not at all. It's simply understanding, again, that, as we said earlier, all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. But here's the thing: there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you from others than by genuinely moving from an I focus or me focus to an other focus, looking to make, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's win. Law number four, the law of authenticity, simply says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. Well, this really means that all the skills in the world, and this is what Deborah, the mentor in that part of the story, said, all the skills in the world, the sales skills, technical skills, people skills, as important as they are, and they are all important, they're also all for naught if you don't come at it from your true, authentic core. But when you do, when you show up as yourself day after day, week after week, month after month, people feel good about you. They feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you. And why wouldn't they? They know who they're getting. And that's when trust can really take hold. Then law number five, the law of receptivity, says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. This is simply understanding that, yeah, you breathe out, well, you also have to breathe in. It's not one or the other. We breathe out carbon dioxide, we breathe in oxygen. We breathe out, and that's giving. We breathe in, that's receiving. And that giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Giving and receiving are simply two sides of the very same coin, and they work in tandem. It's not, are you a giver or a receiver? No, you're a giver and a receiver. But what you know is that the giving comes first, because that's universal law. That's a law of nature. We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. But when we do this, and when we give great value to many people, placing their interests first, coming at it authentically, we've set in motion, right? All the prosperity, all the good that comes to us. Well, we've got to be open to receiving that. And that's basically the 5 laws in a nutshell.
That's incredible. I just finished reading the book for the second time, or was it the third time?
Thank you.
But it's incredible. I really like the fact in the book you also mentioned, it's mentioned that don't think, just apply. The mentor says apply these, otherwise you will not gain the
Yeah.
experience. You won't understand
And
them.
that,
So
yeah, and let me just say, and I appreciate that. But also, I don't want that to be taken out of context by someone who hasn't read the book. That doesn't mean don't think. It doesn't mean don't be a thinker and don't consider things. What he was saying was he was providing him with mentorship of principles that work. And what he was saying is, don't question, is this going to work? Just go out and do the thing, right? Take action on the idea. So it's in no way saying, don't be a thinking person. No, thinking is very important, but just don't outthink yourself. If you have something and it works, it's from a source that like, and trust, and who has displayed success and understand. Well, go out and do the thing, right? Go out and get it done. Don't question, well, why is it that this? Just go and do it, and you'll learn that way.
that's a great tidbit. And in that, how would you suggest somebody who is new to business, new to building relationships, and looking to scale their business, looking to learn from their mentors, what are some ways that they could provide value to somebody with more experience?
Well, I think when you have a mentor, or someone who's taken time out of their day, or maybe they've done it several times, someone who's advised you, you want to be able to communicate value to them, even though you certainly can't do it in the same way they can for you right now. That's just that it wouldn't be realistic to think that. But there are always ways we can find to be of value to others. It might be as simple as writing a simple handwritten thank you note, thanking that person for their time and their expertise, and understanding that they're going out of their way to help you, and that you appreciate it, right? And that's just such a nice touch. It might be making a small donation. Doesn't have to be anything big, but a small donation to their favorite charity or cause in their name, right? Because they'll be notified, and what they're going to know is you're making an effort to provide value to them. You might know they collect books on ancient Roman history, and so you go out of your way to find a collector's edition, and what have you. Or it might be that you catch something on their website that really is not done well, and you're young, and you're much more technically oriented, and you can maybe help them by just doing a fix for them, or showing them how, what I'm saying. There's so many ways that you can find to be of value to someone, even if it's not in a financial way.
It's funny you touched on that. I remember one of the conversations we had was about, I helped you out with Instagram, trying to get you verified, because
That's
there are
right.
people trying to personify you, pretend to be you, and that's something that
Yeah.
it's not. Yeah, I would like to
And
invite
that was
everybody
very
who's listening to
appreciated
this.
when you did
Yeah, feel free to put in the comments if you have any questions for those watching live. I would like to cover some of the questions that have popped in, if we may. We have one here wait 1 second. What advice from Homemaker's Journey? This is super cool. What would your advice be, Bob, for someone starting out with writing their first book, trying to become?
So So
Right.
first, the process of writing a book and getting a book published is multifaceted. The good news is there are ways to do it and systems already set up. And if you go to Google and do a search, how to write a book or how to get a book published, you're going to find all sorts of information. I actually put together a a page with resources for people who want to know how to write a book. So if someone wants to email me, bob@burg.com, bob@burg.com, just put in the subject line, uh, how to write a book, and I'll just copy and paste what I put together, and I'll just click it right back to you.
Excellent. Yeah, we just put it here in the. For those watching on YouTube, you can click and copy bob@burg.com. And yeah, we have another question. We had one earlier. How did you get? I think you put. I believe you already answered this one. How did your career as an author start, Bob? You mentioned a book. I would like to mention another book that I found that you wrote. It was the same year I was born, 1992. You wrote another book, which it has been published. Sorry, wait 1 second here. The Memory System.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That
How
was
was
actually my first book. It was published by a private company, an education company that did seminars. Yeah, and they distributed the book. That's right.
that's super cool. How when you got your start with that book, was it the same thing? You wanted to position yourself as an authority and you wrote it, or was it different?
Uh, yeah, I mean, yes and no. I had taken some courses and really explored it deeply and got really good at it. And so I kind of knew I had a book that I could write on it with some of my, own ideas, not the system itself. I had learned that from others, but in terms of its application. And I happen to know someone from this company, and they asked if I would write a book on it that they could publish, so and share with their teachers, who would then uh, sell them at their seminars. So yeah, that was a little different, but yeah, that was an enjoyable experience.
That's super cool. We have a question here from Ryan Baker asking, Bob, what would your thoughts be on choosing a niche and offer when starting a new venture?
Well, Ryan, that's a great question, because it's always so very important, because that decision is going to have a lot to do with the success of your venture, the profitability, and your enjoyment of it. So there are a couple of things. One is, I would say, choose a market that you would enjoy serving, where you either like the business itself or you kind of enjoy the people in it, and there are people that you want to help. Okay. But then I would also, and this is very important, I call this the marketing bridge. And that is, ask yourself, do they need it? Do they want it? And can they afford it? Okay. Now, if they need what you have to offer, okay, that's a good start. But do they want it? If they don't want it, then you have a decision to make. Do you want to take your time, your energy, your resources to try to carve out a market of people who are not yet sold on it? Okay. Which is going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take money. It's going to, a cost is that it's going to make it so you're not bringing in the income. Okay. But again, you may want this. You may really believe this is a market that you want to serve, and that's worth your time. That's a choice you've got to make. Early in my career, when I experienced that a couple of times, I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to look for a market that needs it, but also wants it. When I say want it, I mean they're open to it. It doesn't mean just because I present it, they're gonna want that, but that they need the product or service, and they want it. They are open to the idea. Okay. Now, by the way, sometimes you might have a product or service people don't need, they just want it. So in that case, you can put need away, because that has nothing to do with it. But I'm assuming here there's that the need is also there. Do they need it? If they need it, do they want it? Are they open to it? And then, can they afford it? Okay. Now, first, if they don't want it, then it doesn't matter. They're not going to afford it because they don't want it. But let's just say they need it and they want it. Is it a market that can afford your services? Okay. If not, well, then you might want to consider not taking on that market. Now, again, you might want to. That's fine. That's a choice. that you make. But all things being equal, I'm going to say, do they need it? If yes, do they want it or open to it? Yes, great. Can they afford it? Great. Okay. And this is a market you want to serve? Wonderful. You've got your niche market right there.
Feel free, Ryan Baker, to follow up with any insights that you gained from that and takeaways.
Ryan, was that helpful? Or if you have a follow up, as Samson said, feel welcome to ask.
We have a lot of technical difficulties today.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it's on our end. This is should be okay. We have other that have said hey here in the chat. Another question that I would like to share is you have built a community of GoGivers. Would you like to share with our audience today how they can find that and who is it for?
Yeah, it's called the GoGiver Community. And what it really is, here's how I say it. Imagine Facebook, okay? This is nothing like it. Instead of having billions and billions of people or whatever that don't really want to communicate in a way that's necessarily constructive. These are all people who want to follow the 5 laws from the Go-Giver. These are people who want to serve others, and they want to also realize the benefits of doing so and gain prosperity. So it's a community of people who we all get together, share ideas, strategize with each other, advise each other, collaborate with each other, but they're all people who are looking to live their lives and conduct business the Go-Giver way. So the Go-Giver, I actually put it in the private chat for you if you want to share the link. It's the GoGiverCommunity.com. Excuse me.
Here we have the link. GoGiverCommunity.com. It's on YouTube right now. You can find it. 1 second. We're going to see if we get the connection going again. Until we get the communication going again, I'm going to take a moment and share with you all that the book described and talked about a little bit here today. It was in the links here on YouTube. You can find it. Awesome. You can see the link to the Go-Giver, and if you haven't read it, definitely give that book up. It's a must read, at least for us here in Capital Races Club. Hey, you're back, Bob. Hi.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Welcome.
I think that was on my end.
we can see you now.
Yeah, so I don't even know where I cut out, but yeah, so we welcome you to join the Go-Giver community, and for those who'd like, you can join the Go-Giver Success Alliance, which is a group of us they're all part of the community, but this is a special group that we all get together and chat and on a little bit more of a intimate basis every week.
That's perfect. We have Ryan following up on the previous question. Yeah, thanks. What should you do when narrowing down your offer when you have a wide range of skills, knowledge, and experience? This could be the last questions because we're closing in on our...
Yeah, so if I'm understanding the question, and I'm not sure I am, so please forgive me if I provide a good answer to the question that I don't understand, or a bad answer to a question I don't understand. That we all kind of we'd like to serve everyone and use all our skills. And of course, we do want to use our skills, our knowledge and experience. But we also have to make sure of a couple of things. One, that we're serving a niche market. Now, by the way, you start out with a niche market. That doesn't mean you won't expand outwards. You will, but you'll position yourself so strongly within that niche that you will have a very healthy, profitable business, and that will allow you to expand and serve others. But the other thing is that we may know a whole lot about certain things, But if we're confusing those we're trying to serve, right, by going too far outside what is understandable and what is productive, then we're really not, we're not helping anyone. So I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to take those skills, the knowledge and experience, and ask, how do we utilize that to best serve the customer? Because that's what it's all about. And once we understand that great salesmanship is never about the salesperson, right? It's never about the product or service itself. Great salesmanship is about the other person. It's about providing immense value to another human being. It's really, what it really is? It's knowing that that other person's life is better just because you are part of it. And I think that when we approach sales and we approach business that way, now we're always coming at it from the correct premise, and we're always doing our best in that other person's eyes.
That's such a beautiful way of coming at business. Thank you so much, Mitch. We had Mitch here sharing also. Thank you in the comments on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bob, for taking time for this. We're super grateful to have you here. And for everybody who's watching this, definitely go to the GoGiverCommunity.com and sign up for the GoGiver community. That way you can hang out with more Go-Givers and get to learn more from Bob himself. So thank you so much for making time for this. And with all of that said, see you all next Tuesday. We're going to have the next Capital Races Club networking event. Thank you so much and have a great weekend. Talk soon.
Thanks, Samson. Thanks, everyone.